Have you ever taken the time to sit and truly wonder what it would be like to eat a brick? Perhaps you've wanted to go deep into the woods to throw bears at other bears. Maybe you would like to rip a tree out of the ground and punch it until it becomes a canoe, and then proceed to use that canoe sailing to foreign lands to find new throwing bears. Well, the Heavy has done all of that and more. Welcome to the Heavy Show. We shaved a Sasquatch, dressed him up in power armor, and stung him with a bunch of bees. Now he is destined to make stuff not exist anymore for the rest of his life. Oh, and he thinks his name is Clyde. We're not actually sure when we did that. Anyway, here's how to pilot this absolute beef cannon of a primate. As the Heavy, your job is actually remarkably simple. You make space, and occasionally you'll protect it if you feel generous. If there is a massive pile of living things in that space, you should take offense to that. You should actually take so much offense to it that the only acceptable response is to destroy the pile of things entirely. As of right now, you are the closest thing to a tank that we can afford. So you're gonna wake up every day, eat a big bowl of breakfast nails, and bellow screams into the faces of our enemies until they simply are shredded from the face of reality. You are only permitted 2 concerns in life. Keep your tiny friends alive, find more bullets and steroids. Now, technically that is 3, yes, but I was told that Heavies can't count that high, so we're gonna call it 2 and just hope that it sticks. As the Heavy, you will have 2 primary playstyles: protecting the fragile little baby men that accompany you into every match, and furiously slinging hate at large mobs of enemies. The differences are found in positioning. On one hand, you operate very closely with your team. You watch over them, shielding if necessary, and obliterate any enemies that get too close. On the other, you take the fight to the enemies. You will run ahead of the team and plunge yourself directly into the enemies like a sword into the heart of a beast. This is followed by having a reasonable crash out and destroying everything around you. The option you should select will become more apparent as we progress, and keep in mind, you'll eventually be able to do both simultaneously. Okay, we got the gist of what you're going to be doing, now let's go ahead and discuss what you're going to be doing it with. Personally speaking, I am hard-pressed to find a reason that I wowould not call the Multi-Melta the best gun in the entire game. Now, this is not a video about metas or anything. Those are lame as hell in my opinion. The only tier lists that have any taste in my opinion would be drip tier lists, of which I hope I make someday, but back to the topic at hand. This gun is cool as fuck. What it lacks in range, it makes up for in the ability to kill a dozen enemies at once. What it can't kill, it's gonna go ahead and stagger. Constantly. This bi-barrel bubble blaster beats the brakes off of bitches, and if you had one gun to rule them all, this would probably be it. If you're the kind of fancy pants that requires a reasonable approach, go ahead and play tactical. The Meat Castle has no interest in your non-confrontational natures. The Heavy plays fast and mean, like a viper in your toilet that just got an unconsensual golden shower. Oh, and use whatever the hell pistol you want, who gives a shit. As a Heavy, you are granted the unique benefit to protect on the move with your Iron Halo ability. With this, you become the predominant rushing force of any team. The shield doesn't last forever, but you don't need it to. There's just enough juice for it to hold up under the immediate burst of offense and colliding into the enemy forces. By the time it's broken, all of the ranged units are dead, and it's served its purpose. This doesn't necessarily mean it can't hold up in stationary defense, and should the time arise, you absolutely should dive in and use it to defend your teammates completing objectives. Now, you will have to pick a direction, because most objectives get you surrounded by enemies, and it only blocks ranged attacks. So direct yourself towards where the most projectiles are flying in from, and while it blocks, mulch whatever the hell is shooting at you into fine chunks before it deactivates. A reliable Heavy needs to find the proper balance between aggression and protection. As of right now, they're kind of one and the same, and here's why. The Multi-Melta can hit so many targets so unbelievably hard, it overcharges your contested health. This means when you get damaged and you return the favor, you actually end up with more health. I have no idea if this is a purposeful mechanic or not, but it can be done with all other classes. However, they don't tend to hit as hard, so you never really see it happen with them. To use this best, you're gonna want the Bulwark's Contested Health Extension perk. I do not know if this is supposed to exist, but the fact of the matter is, it exists. So it's not cheating, it's just a thing that's gonna happen, so you might as well embrace it. This is partially an explanation of why you will feel like you have so much health compared to others. However, it's also meant to warn you that hyper-reckless behavior probably won't be sustainable in the long term, and you should probably play a little more conservatively. One last note about the heavy. Your ammunition. It is very easy to get carried away and waste all of your rounds. This is a very dangerous game, as you have no melee weapon to fall back upon. Similarly to the sniper, your most powerful position is anchoring yourself around an ammo point. Fortunately, you have a much longer tether than the sniper is allowed. You will have better ammo reserves and a gun that is superior at general clearance. This means you can break off the dominate enemies for longer durations, but do not make the mistake of waiting so long that you're completely out of munitions. You do that, and you lose your safe passage back to the crate. Memorizing where you can consistently find ammo crates and operations will enable you more than anything else. And one more note on positioning. Do your best to corral enemies. Get them bunched up as much as possible before ripping a shot, and you will benefit greatly. To close up, similar to the sniper video, I will cover how the heavy can interact and build off of other classes. Tactical. A good tactical working with a heavy can make everyone's jobs easier. Any heavy should be able to corral enemies. If you don't know how, just circle them super wide. They'll bunch up. That's corralling enemies. When that occurs, the tactical can hit all of them with a scan, and the heavy may rip through the entire horde instead of just the swarm units. Assault. There is a tremendously, even criminally undervalued perception of assault right now, because most of them play far too aggressive. If you get the fabled defensive assault that won't immediately shit the bed and actually waits for you to push in, they will pinball between elite enemies while you handle everything else. They are a godsend. Cherish them, hold them close, never let them go. But I'll be honest, it's not super likely you're getting one. There's a better chance you're going to get yelled at for not rushing in to save one from their poor decisions. But if that's the case, just do what I do. Stop giving a shit about them. Vanguard. Having a Vanguard is nice, because so long as you keep the little guys away, they will adore fighting elites for you. If they have a melter rifle, even better. They should want to be right next to you helping the entire game. After all, you can protect them from their one and only real weakness. Ranged units. Bulwark. These guys are pretty much going to be your son. They're a smaller version of you. It's your little buddy. Although the combination can prove a bit redundant, being defense and defense, it's got something going for it. You can constantly cycle protective abilities, and you've got another frontline player that's always going to be there with you. Sniper. A heavy paired with a sniper is about as good as it gets for ballistic superiority. The sniper glasses each and every elite unit, and the heavy can reliably burst down everything else, and this is not reliant on cooldowns whatsoever. This combination absolutely fucks. And that's the end of our lesson today. Quick recap. Use the multi-melta, focus on incinerating swarm units, communicate with your team and lead both rushes and defense efforts, center your movement around ammo crates, get bold but not unnecessarily risky. That 9 invincibility lifesteal effect probably isn't around forever. You're a gun-toting yeti now. Take the ball and run with it. Make space your bitch by embracing the meat castle mentality. Go ahead, be a hero of the Imperium. As usual, thanks for watching. Feel free to join the gaming server in the channel info if you're old enough. And have a good night.